We want to create a luxury magic accessory for a high-rolling gangster, but all we have is this dusty old suitcase. This time we are off to the bustling streets of New Capenna. But if we are going to impress the city's biggest, baddest demon, this suitcase is going to need a serious makeover. This case needs to have it all. Locks, slides, hatches, and all while looking like $1 million. If we fail, Ob Nixilis will be feeding us to the fishes.
This week, we are making a playmat fit for a king. Pin.
We want to use our skills as product designers to create a more refined luxury item.
This build is going to be a lot less forgiving, meaning if we make mistakes, we're not going to be able to patch it up as we go. We're going to have to rely on precise planning to get this one right. We want to take this thing apart, harvest its components, and turn it into something we can use for our build.
This build is going to have a lot of complexity to it, because there's a lot of moving parts that all need to work in unison with each other. To ensure this happens, we are going to need to create a detailed 3D model on the computer. I start this process by modeling all the components I want to use, like the handle, latches, and clasps. Once I have done that, I can design the rest of the case around those parts. Having an accurate digital version of all the components allows me to be certain that everything will fit together when I build it in reality. This CAD model is available for free on our website, link below in the description. Once we were happy with the design, we were off to the local hardware store to pick up the supplies we needed. First some drawer runners, then some clasps, a couple of hinges, and finally some glues to stick everything together. Then I tried not to cry too much as I put everything through the till. When we got back home, the third member of the team was hard at work. Once I set him on his next task, I started removing all the components we needed from the old suitcase. This was actually much more work than I thought. They really made things well back in the day. So I wanted to start by blocking out the base structure from MDF and plywood. I printed out a drawing that had all the dimensions of the various parts I needed to cut out. Unfortunately, I don't have a laser cutter, so it's just good old-fashioned power tools for this one. I find these small metal rulers really useful for jobs like this. They're so convenient and they only cost a couple of bucks. If you would like me to do a video on some of my favourite tools, let me know in the comments. I had to cut 45-degree angles on a lot of the panels to make space for the corner pads from the old case. I did this by setting up a jig on the cross saw so I could make repeatable cuts more easily. So now I've cut out all the plans and I'm ready to assemble. Before I do that, I thought I would go for a nice walk on the beach. Lovely. I use a combination of wood glue, super glue, and tape to stick all the parts together. The super glue sets quickly and holds everything in place while the wood glue dries. I then mounted the drawer slides to the side panel of the case. I then stuck that part to the main body of the case using lots of tape and glue. Side note, I have painted some of the parts black because I know it will be hard to paint them once the box is fully assembled. I then repeated all those steps to make the second half of the case.
Okay, so walk us through it.
So we've installed the rails, the area for your card storage, and then obviously this will slide in and out. Yeah, I mean, like the rails were another, just added a lot of complexity. They're a lot tougher than I thought they would be. Hopefully the handle doesn't rip off when you open the box. I think, to be fair, I think Ob Nixilis would not be stoked if he saw this.
He'd be a little bit disappointed. Like, he's paid a premium and we've come along to his palace. He's sitting on his throne and we present this in front of him.
Yeah, he's going to be...
He'd be a little bit underwhelmed.
Yeah, he's like...
I'd feel a little bit unsafe, actually.
Feed him to the fishes.
Trapdoor opens. Ben and you go down.
Totally.
Man, well, crack into it. So we have a really good 3D model here, which is going to provide the basic structure of the build. But now I want to put together a bunch of reference material that's going to help us inform the detail for the inside of it. With Minky's assistance, I am quite sure we're going to get there.
Ben used Pinterest to find some Art Deco motifs that would inform the design of the interior of the case, and then used CAD to draw up the designs so we could cut them on the Cricut cutter. While Ben was doing that, I went out to pick up some fabric. We wanted to cover the majority of the playmat surface with red fabric to give that luxury casino smoker's lounge vibe that really suits New Capenna. This will also allow the gold motifs to stand out really well.
Well, that actually didn't take as long as I thought, so before Euan notices, I might just go take a break. Just a wee cup of tea, sit down, sounds great. Let's just hope Euan isn't editing this part of the video and he makes a fool out of me for sneaking off.
I found some leather in the back of my cupboard that I thought would look awesome on the exterior of the case. I used contact adhesive to attach the leather to the case. This stuff releases a lot of fumes. If you want to do something like this, I would advise doing it in a well-ventilated area with a face mask. I then used a sharp knife to trim the excess leather. Before I added the hardware, I wanted to enclose the larger side of the case to make it a bit stronger. First I added the hinges, then the salvage clasps from the old case. It was important that I made sure these lined up so it would open and close smoothly. I added the handle, then I mounted both halves of the case to the rails. This was really tricky, to be honest, and I worked late into the night trying to get it to work. Yeah, I'm a bit nervous about the slides, the drawer slides. I think that they might be too tough. I'm not sure if the box is going to be tough enough to handle pulling the drawer slides open. We will see in the morning when it's all dry. So this was the moment to see if the box would be tough enough. Luckily, it seemed to hold up fine. That works all good. The other side. Yeah, so I'm really happy with the way it's looking. Decent sized playmat. Now I knew that everything was working well, it was time to make this thing look great. The first step of this was to cover the remaining sides of the case in leather. While you watch me make the metal trim, I'm going to ask a massive favour. If you could like, share and subscribe, that would be amazing. We just crossed the 10,000 subscriber mark and we are so grateful for all the support we have been receiving. We've got some awesome projects coming up in the last few months of the year, so make sure you follow along. Now it was time to add the corner pads from the old case. I attached them with some screws. And then finally the clasps that I got from the hardware store. I think these details really give the case that Art Deco look we were after. The finishing touch we wanted to make on the exterior was to add a motif inspired by the new Capenna logo. We did this by cutting the design out of cardboard, then spray painting it silver, sticking it on the front of the case, and then adding some subtle aging. I hadn't seen Ben in a while, so I went off to see what he was up to. Ben!
Are you talking to me? Are you talking
Ben?
to me? Ah!
The first thing was to finish wrapping the removable areas of the playmat in red fabric. I created some tabs out of red ribbon so that I was able to remove the panels more easily. I then repeated these steps for a smaller window that opens up to store your commander. Or in this case, your commander protected by armor plate, a product that we produce.
Euan and I have been playing Commander for about 5 years now. We thought it'd be great if there was a way to separate your Commander from the rest of the cards on the table. That's why we design and make these armor plates. They are all made here by us in our small studio, using a lot of the tools in the shelf behind me, and that includes Euan. On our website, you can create your own artwork for the armor plates. We release new designs and characters as often as we can. If you think this could be your kind of thing, go to our website and pick one up for yourself.
It was now time to add the finishing touch to the interior. I just needed to attach the Art Deco decals to the playmat to make the interior really pop. It is now time to see the final product. Hopefully Ob Nixilis will be pleased. This was by far the most complicated build we have done to date, but this is just the beginning. We have so many more epic builds planned, and your support really helps us bring them to life. Thank you again, and we'll see you next time.